Game Time is a new cultural platform exploring the convergence of art and sports, debuting March 19th and 20th during the opening weekend of the exhibition Get in the Game, Sports Art Culture at the Pérez Art Museum, Miami. Unbelievable. You're combining pro wrestling with art here, with the AEW Women's World Champion Thekla is one of the featured artists. Not only is she an artist in the ring, but she's an artist outside the ring as well. And Thekla, I just wanted to first of all talk about how you got involved with this whole project that's coming to Miami, because it's very, very unique.
It is very unique. Thanks for having me, by the way. So the idea came from somebody who I've been working very closely with. His name is Adam Abdallah. He's working with Cultural Council. He's very interested in this like point between art, like where art and wrestling meet. You know, he's a long time wrestling fan, and he's got his fingers in all sorts of different art projects. So he came up with the thing, and now we're doing it. You know, it's really interesting. You don't have a lot of coverage on that sweet spot between art and sports. So I'm really excited to see what it's going to be like.
It's going to be a very unique event, and you will be there. Lee Moriarty, who also is in AEW and was here in Miami for NADA, which was a big event last year featuring his art, and I got to meet him. And it's just amazing at some of the work he's done. I'm wondering for you, what type of art do you display? What are some of your thoughts and creations for your art?
So my art keeps on changing a lot. In art school I did a lot of sound art. I came from music actually. Currently I draw a lot. I paint, you know, I go from paper, mixed media to canvas now, you know, and I've been publishing little books, you know, all sorts of stuff. I like sketching, I like working on the iPad. I like it's mixed, just like my life and my work as a wrestler. My inspiration obviously comes from my work as a professional wrestler. So I take the experience from inside the ring and I turn it into visual art. You know, so like I visualize these things. It's a lot of muscular women beating each other up, and it's you know, it's very how do you say, like a lot of action, and I try to visualize that influences from comic and action movies, that kind of stuff. Yep. If that sums it up.
Well, no, no, Thekla, it's interesting because also reading your background, you were involved in a punk rock band, correct?
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So music, yes, another interest of yours. Are you still involved in music at all?
Currently, it's really hard with my schedule as a visual artist and professional wrestler and holding the biggest title in the company. So it's a little tricky, but I'm still. I dream about it still, because that's my roots are in music and performing live on the stage. So hopefully when I have a little more time, I want to get the band back together. You know what I mean?
How did it correlate from you going from music, punk rock, that scene, to getting involved in professional wrestling?
I think music and punk rock are close to wrestling, actually. It's very aggressive, you know, brutal music, and the way I express myself as a punk musician on stage, to me, it's very similar to the way I express myself as a professional wrestler. You know, it's basically the same thing, and like the bar fights are the same. You know, it's like the way me and my bandmates would beat each other up on stage when something didn't go quite as planned is basically the same thing as me doing it in a ring. You know, so I just made my strange hobby. I made it my profession.
And it's interesting because going into professional wrestling, you've really fell in love with the culture of Japan and wrestling in Japan for Stardom and wrestling there. And I'm curious, as to what was it like, those first experiences, because professional wrestling in Japan was different from American pro wrestling a while ago. Now it seems like the American style is catching up, and you get that, the physical, the aggressiveness. We're seeing more of that, especially in your style and others. And I'm just curious, that Japanese style of wrestling and the culture and what that meant for you.
That is very interesting because I feel like obviously Japan took the idea of professional wrestling there, like first from America. Like they saw it there, and then they took it to Japan, and then they made it into a whole different thing again. In Japan, it's more about fighting spirit. It's way more sports based. It's anchored in reality, and it's almost like a lot of mixed martial arts influences. It's and they punch you straight in the face. Like, oh, it's so much more physical. So that influence is very interesting because I can take that now, the whole experience I had over there, and take it and use it here in America. And I did the same thing, like knowing a little bit the Western culture of doing things, I could bring that to Japan, So it was very interesting. I think the coolest thing is always to mix it all up. Take influences from Europe, take it from Japan, and take it from America, and then keep on moving from territory to territory and trying to create something new.
You know what? You mentioned MMA, and I'm curious. Have you ever had any thoughts of competing in MMA?
I did have thoughts until I got punched in the face. So I think for my size, I was in Bali also. No, not I was in Thailand a couple of years ago, and I did a little kickboxing course. It's just like while I was there, and the locals immediately set me down and was like, "How much do you weigh? Have you done this before? You want to stay here for a little while? We can bring you to Phuket, and you can just start out with an amateur fight because you're very strong. It's a good kicks." And then I was like, maybe I just moved to Thailand and just start a completely new thing. But it's like, oh, and then you get punched in the face and you're done. Like, okay, I don't. It happens in wrestling all the time, but I do have to say I enjoyed punching other people more than getting punched in the face. So thank you. Goodbye. I prefer wrestling.
That is so great. And the great boxer Mike Tyson once said, hey, when you get into a fight with punches, when you get into a fight, everyone has a game plan until they get punched in the face.
Exactly. And I'm not going to lie about it, It's like, hey, too pretty. Come on, get out of here. I need this. So.
Oh, that's awesome. A couple more questions. We'll get you out of here.
Yep.
We're going to go back to the art, that whole art experience and project. Before that, AEW Revolution is coming up March 15th. You have another big match. You had an incredible strap match with Chris Statlander to win the AEW Women's title. Now, you all are going 2 out of 3 falls. You both bring it. A lot of the women in AEW bring it. Very tough, very physical. I'm wondering, what are your thoughts of this big match coming up? And what are your thoughts of AEW presenting this style that you seem to enjoy in wrestling?
So first of all, nobody asked me if I'm doing this match, So the boss put it on. Nobody asked me. I'm the champ. If you want to do something like that with me, you have to first earn it. Second, you have to ask me. So we got to talk about that one more time. But obviously, yeah, Chris and I, we already went against each other twice. So that third time is, I know her shtick and she knows mine, so this one's gonna be very interesting. I got her down with my psychological warfare on the other one, and I eventually took the title off of her. So this one, she knows a little bit what I'm about, and she is stronger than me. She's bigger than me. I'm not gonna lie about that. So it's interesting, is it what I have here and what I have here versus what she's got there. We'll have to see about that. Hey, what's up, Lee?
So Thekla.
Yeah, this will be a good transition too. Lee Moriarty, another incredible pro wrestler working for AEW and an incredible artist. And as I mentioned, he was part of NADA, which was an outstanding art event here in Miami. And now he's going to be a part of this big event, Game Time, which is going to be Get in the Game, Sports Art Culture, which is going to be here in Miami, March the 19th and 20th at the Pérez Art Museum, Miami. And having you both there is just going to be incredible. Thekla, if you could just stay a couple more questions, I want to ask Lee too.
Sure.
Lee, what is it like? Thank you. What is it like, Lee, having other wrestlers like Thekla be a part of this event and other events? Because that's so interesting to me, Lee. And we've spoken about this going back, even back to Jerry the King Lawler. Pro wrestlers, very creative with writing and with art. And I'm just wondering, from your perspective, how it lends in the ring to what you're doing outside of the ring.
Yeah, it's cool because it's just another connection that we both share between the art and pro wrestling thing. Like, we never met each other, but when we officially first met, we kind of felt like we knew each other a little bit, at least to me, because the art connection that we had and just being a fan of each other's art. So that was really cool. And then I think the art influences in wrestling because a lot of times the art, you're trying to be original and creative and things like that. So those things blend together really well and being original, and it makes it easier in a way to be unique and creative as a professional wrestler because of the art world.
Thekla, how important is this event? We touched about the event, but how do you think what the importance is? Because it's about art, sports, and culture. And you guys are going to be there talking about it. It's going to be a really cool event. There's going to be other athletes there and other artists there as well. But what do you think of the significance of something like this?
I think it's really cool because I think the connection between art and sports hasn't been explored a lot yet, you know? Like, I think me and Lee are some of the wrestlers who are actually also artists, you know? And I think that's just incredible because in my opinion, we have an insight into the sport because we practice it, you know, we know the highs and lows of being a professional wrestler, being an athlete, but we're also able to actually express that in visual art, you know, so we can try to give people a taste of what that could look like, what that could feel like in a creative way, you know what I mean? So I think it's very cool to be able to translate that and also, you know, exchange ideas about art and about sports with other people, because there's going to be a bunch of people talking, and who knows what's going to be the next step. It's really exciting.
And also, Thekla, we'll let you go, but I want to end it with this with you, and thank you for your time today. I'm curious, so have you participated in events like this before, just art shows in general, and do you go around and talk to the other artists and check out the work? How does that go for you?
Yeah, I did New York. I did NADA New York last year, so that was my first exhibition in the States. That was great. Obviously, you walk around, you see other people's art, and like, wow, it's just so much happening. It's New York, you know. Maybe that's where it's wrestling. Sometimes I don't have the time anymore to go to museums to get that art fix, you know. So it's like, oh, I get to show my stuff here, and I get to see cool stuff too. You know, it's perfect. You know, I'll just get glued to the art and be like, wow, I get inspired again. And that's the hit you're looking for, right? Where I'm an addict. You know what I mean? It's like there's nothing prettier and nicer to me than seeing somebody's work and being like, oh, wow, man, I want to get back to doing that again. And it's the same with wrestling. You know, it's creative. We're artists.
And that's it. Thekla, thank you so much for taking some time. Also, Thekla, are you able to give us a little bit of insight of something you're bringing, something we should look forward to seeing art-wise that you're bringing down to Miami?
Oh yeah, we haven't really decided what we're gonna be showing yet because there's so much stuff. I think I'm gonna just have a whole mix of works on paper, works on canvas. Maybe I'll bring down my books. Definitely bringing this, and I'm gonna be there myself, and a piece of art. So that's what you can expect. And I hope a lot of people come out and let's make it happen.
All right, Thekla, thank you so much for your time. We're gonna now go to the tag team art partner, Lee Moriarty.
Yeah.
Thank you, Thekla.
Thanks, guys. Go kill it, Lee. Bye-bye.
Thank you. See ya.
All right, Lee. So this is going to be now another visit to Miami. What is it like coming back? I know with the work, a lot with the masks, a lot with lucha, which is really cool. But still, talk about that again, your inspirations, and again, coming back to Miami now.
Yeah, coming back to Miami is cool because that's kind of where everything started with Nada a few years ago. And then since then, I've had the solo exhibition in Los Angeles. This time's a bit different, I think, because it's including speaking. So the first time I was at Nada, I was there and I got to listen to a few different things like Kate Capshaw and Coach K speak and those things like that. But now it's my turn to be on that stage speaking, and thankfully I have someone I'm comfortable with Thekla there also as well. So that makes it more of a familiar feeling, even though it's new to me. And then it's cool that it's in connection with something that I love so much in both pro wrestling and art, because we talked about it before, my art is influenced by my lifestyle and being a professional wrestler and my quiet and peaceful life outside the ring.
Lee, coinciding it like that, it's so interesting. When you're seeing other artists and talking to other artists, are they interested too that, oh, wow, you're a pro wrestler? Because that's a little bit different. I know in your world, you know, some of the ones that we have artists in pro wrestling. We have story writers in pro wrestling. There's so much creativity. But do you find that other artists are like, oh, wow, that's really cool. You're a pro wrestler too.
Yeah, it's I remember the first time I was down there in Nada, and you know, people are looking at my artwork, but then they're also seeing the Ring of Honor Pure Championship next to me. At the time, Ring of Honor had sent down a production team, so they were filming so that they could put together a package that would air on Ring of Honor. And it's like people are connecting the dots that, oh, I'm not just painting professional wrestlers, but I am a professional wrestler. So that's very unique. We had a lot of people that were new fans. I met a few people who had recently went to a CMLL show in Mexico. So they were just now getting into pro wrestling and then meeting a pro wrestler that was also an artist. So it's like their two worlds connecting into one person. So it's been really cool and the positive welcoming I've got from the art community, because like I'm someone that I always made art like since I was a kid, even before pro wrestling, but I was never necessarily in the art world in terms of interacting with other artists outside of like my classmates in high school. So to be in this world of professional wrestling for so long and then come to our world and be welcomed so quick was really cool.
Professional wrestling, and you're with AEW, is open doors, and you can see AEW Dynamite on Wednesday nights, Collision on Saturday nights, big AEW Revolution coming up March 15th. Really a lot of good events, a lot of great talent. It's just interesting to see that. And as you mentioned, also Ring of Honor, which is also with AEW, part of the company. I'm curious, Lee, when you are wrestling and the other wrestlers finding out you're an artist and see your work, do you get other wrestlers that are saying, hey, Lee, can you paint something for me or something like that? Yeah,
definitely. I've had people like ask about like when they find I'm an artist, they have no idea, because for a while I didn't really post my art that publicly until like I got more comfortable with. I'm a big person. Like I don't post too much on social media just because I like to enjoy the world outside of the screen. But as like I would post more and more about it, or I would have more success in art, people would find out that I'm also doing this. But I would have people like ask like, hey, like when can I buy a print? When can I buy a piece? And it's funny because like anytime I would have these exhibitions, like in Miami, I think I had 8 paintings and they all sold out. And then when I did the thing in LA, I had the 8 paintings and they all sold out. So it's like my work is going pretty quick, which I very much appreciate. It's kind of hard to keep up with the demand, even for people that I work with and professional wrestlers, but they're all very supportive and I'm grateful for that.
And Lee, what about like CMLL and Mexico and going some other places outside of the US, especially with the lucha style representation, and though when they find out you're an artist and what you're painting and drawing?
Yeah, that same thing, extremely supportive. So in January, I did a few days in CMLL. I wrestled in Mexico City in both Arena Mexico and I believe it was Arena Coliseo. And a few days before I went down there, I did an interview much like this. And afterwards, they actually asked for a few photos of my paintings to put in a publication that they had down there in Mexico. So they're talking about me as a professional wrestler, but also as an artist. And then someone I've gotten to know a little bit, he's a family member of Blue Demon, but he's one of the Blue Demon family members. They have an exhibition, a gallery, and a store down there. And he said, next time I'm in Mexico, I'm more than welcome to come just so I can see some of the original things as part of his family's collection.
That's amazing. Blue Demon,
Yeah.
Blue Demon Jr., that whole Blue Demon family and other wrestlers, just incredible. They worked, Blue Demon Jr. worked in South Florida years ago on a Coastal Championship Wrestling show, one of our big indie group, our only big indie group down here. But it's interesting because when you're doing your thing and you're in the ring and you're AEW and you're just doing tremendous things, I'm curiously, when does the art kick in as far as, all right, now I'm going to make this. I got an idea. This is something I want to do. And is it for you, is it to get it done at one time, or are you doing it and taking a break and then getting back to it? How does that development work for you in your art?
For my art, it fluctuates. So art-wise, if I have a goal or a certain a deadline in a sense, so when I had this show in Miami and all the paintings sold out, it was maybe a month or two after that I got contacted for the night gallery in Los Angeles, and they wanted a certain amount of paintings. So I was like, okay, I need to create a whole new series for the show in September of last year. So what my goal then was to do a painting a month. And I already kind of had more inspiration. It's just the time between my wrestling schedule and things like that to balance it. But also the way inspiration comes from me, it comes at very different times. So, and also comes through pro wrestling. So one of the things a few weeks ago, we had a show in Oceanside, California, and the hotel we stayed at was really nice. And there was these plants and things I've never seen before. So I took photos of that, and then it'll end up in my paintings in a future sense. So a lot of times my inspiration comes from traveling as a professional wrestler.
We know your art. Now we're going to be represented here in Miami at the Pérez Art Museum, Miami, for this Game Time event. And Get in the Game, Sports Art Culture. It's debuting March 19th and 20th. And this is the first major museum-led conference examining cultural production in and around sports. And I'm curiously, can you give us an idea of other pro wrestlers? I know I mentioned Jerry the King Lawler, other pro wrestlers that you've interacted with who are into the art, that are actually artists themselves. Are there any others in AEW?
Yeah, there's a number of people that are into the arts and artists. So a few of the first people that were very supportive of me as an artist were Nyla Rose, Evil Uno, Truth Magnum in the Outrunners. They were extremely supportive of coming out. They were some of the people I was talking about was hey, if you have prints and things like that available. And then there's artists of all levels, whether that's physicals and paintings and things like that. Someone, Story Denali, I've seen some of her work. It's pretty nice. She has fun work in her Ring of Honor. And then there's music guys like Leo Rush or recently signed Myron Reed, who create their own music and art in that way. So there's a lot more artists, I think, than people realize in professional wrestling, because I think to be as creative as we are as wrestlers, you have that artist in you. It's just figuring out the other form of medium besides what you do in the ring. Because I do think what we do in the ring is art too.
Well, Lee, was there any music with you too, or was it just the paintings and drawings and that type of art?
Yeah, but I wasn't great at it. I feel like if I would have stuck with it, maybe. So when I was younger, I definitely did things like FL Studio to try to create the instrumentals, because I was a big fan of Nujabes, Jay Dilla, MF Doom. So I would try to do those things a very little bit, but I was always more into the drawing aspect of things. So I stuck more with that. But I do every once in a while think about picking back up FL Studio or something like that and just trying to make instrumentals and things.
Well, Thekla was into punk rock. Maybe you can talk to her. She wants to get back into music, but she's so busy now between art and the AEW Women's World Champion. But maybe you can get your punk rock influence on, Lee.
I wish. I played the drums in middle school, but I feel like now it would take me a while to pick it back up. It was so long ago.
All right, well, Lee, we're going to let you go. I want to finish it up here. A couple of things. First of all, you're a Pittsburgh native, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
the great Roberto Clemente, Lee Moriarty. Yeah. And I've got my other thing here too, Lee.
Oh, that's the classic, yeah.
That's for you, Lee. Only for you. I'm a Miami Dolphins, Miami Marlins, Florida Panthers, Miami Heat fan. But for you, Lee, today, I'm done in the Pittsburgh. Just for you, Lee.
I love it.
Hey, what was sport? And that's what I wanted to turn to too, though. Sports for you. What were you interested in growing up as far as competing and also watching? And did you have favorite athletes? Pro wrestling and other sports?
Yeah, when I was growing up, I wasn't that into sports until maybe like late middle school going to high school. And the one that I really watched was basketball. I remember always watching the All-Star Weekend with my dad, the celebrity games, the dunk contest, and then the All-Star game on Sundays. My family are huge Steelers fans. I've been to Pirates games when I was younger. Actually, I grew up on the north side of Pittsburgh. So when we would open the door to our balcony or the window, because my room was upstairs, you can hear the announcements of baseball games because Hinesville and PNC Park are pretty close to each other. So I could still hear the things like that. And that was a really cool experience. But once I got to high school is when I played rugby my senior year. So that was like my entryway into contact sports, other than like the 6 months of Taekwondo I did when I was younger. Like, you know, your parents always signed you up to do some martial arts when you're a kid. But yeah, I think rugby was like the one I really like signed myself up for when I was in high school and played, and I was really into that. That was fun.
And now it's come to pro wrestling, which is amazing, and art, and pro wrestling opening doors for you, and art opening doors for you as well. So, right. Lee, can you give us? I like I asked Thekla, can you give us any thoughts of anything you might be bringing down to Miami, or are you still figuring out what you're going to bring down here?
Yeah, so recently I actually did a 3-painting series of luchadors and tennis, because that was really one of the big first ones I ever did. And you can kind of see one here, but it actually has a theme of Miami with the palm trees and the sunset of color and all that stuff. And that's influenced from my time and trip down there in Miami. So that's amazing. You see that down there.
It is so cool, because that's the thing with this event. It's really a combination of art, sports, and culture. And that's something that Lee does. He it's not just pro wrestlers in the ring. It's pro wrestlers in different atmospheres, like he showed you on a tennis court, which is really cool. It really is something that your creative mind is really showing us something different, which is really cool to see. So Lee, coming down here to Miami, we look forward to seeing you. I'm going to try to get down there as well. We'll get some photos. We'll probably do some one-on-ones there. I'm gonna start pushing that punk rock thing. I don't know if I'm not a big rap and hip hop or punk rock fan, but I'll try to get things going. I'll try to get Thekla Lee, the Thekla Lee or project, or the Moriarty Thekla project. I'm not going to try to say her last name because I'll butcher that, Lee.
I feel you.
Hey, thank you so much for the time. All the best, Lee.
Absolutely. Thanks. Good seeing you again too.